Hello, everybody. Good morning. We're going to give folks, tiny hands coming up, my coworker. We're going to give folks a couple minutes to join since we just started. We'll get started in just a minute. All right, looks like we've got quite a few folks joining, so we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody, and happy Team Member Appreciation Week. I am Nikki Newman-Sabani. I am with Whole Cities Foundation in charge of digital communications and team member engagement. So very excited to introduce Dr. Akua Woolbright, who will be leading today's event. Hi, Dr. Akua. So just to give a quick background before she jumps in, so Dr. Akua is a nutrition scientist. She's the nutrition program director for Whole Cities and has been a Whole Foods Market team member for more than 10 years. At Whole Cities, our mission is to improve healthy food access and nutrition education. So through Dr. Akua's Let's Talk Food program, she empowers people to lead healthier lives by providing authoritative nutritional information, passionate inspiration, and genuine support. We actually recently published a blog post featuring Dr. Akua and how the role of consistency helps to advance long-term community health. I'll make sure to put a link in the chat to that post, and also make sure to check out a brand new 15-minute podcast available on Spotify that we have, which is really great to listen to as an extended education beyond today's event. We'll also open it up at questions at the end, so feel free throughout Dr. Akua's talk to send any of those questions you might have via the chat, Q&A, or when we open up the live Q&A, you can use the raise your hand feature. So we'd love to hear any and all questions that you have, and I'll gather those for at the end. And now I'll pass it over to Dr. Akua.
Thank you, Nikki. Hello, team members. I'm really excited to present to you guys today. I wish all of you, a happy team member Appreciation Week. Hope you are taking the time to really reflect on your Whole Foods Market journey and to celebrate your wins and your successes. We do so much to serve our customers, our teams, and this company. So just know that you are appreciated and take a moment to celebrate yourself. It is an honor for me to be with you guys today because much of my work is out in the community, and it's always, fun to come back and talk to family. For those of you who have been with Whole Foods Market for a while, you remember the Health Starts Here program and all the work we did around healthy eating. And that is the work I have been able to take out into the cities that Whole Cities Foundation serves. So I am based in Detroit, Michigan, and we have a nutrition and culinary education center here. And we also have programs in other cities where I get to talk to people about the benefits of eating produce. That's really what it breaks down to. But today I'm going to walk you through some of the thinking that I bring to the messaging. So I'll dive right in. When we think about the standard American diet, we see the links between that and chronic disease in America. Much of the information that we hear is about the health crisis and how we see an increase in things like heart disease, high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, diseases that we know are preventable if we get the food and the right. And so much of the work that Whole Foods Market has done is really drilling down into what are those dietary and lifestyle changes that we all can make to help improve our health. This is so important to me. I get very passionate about it because when I'm out in the community, we see so many people suffering. We even see children now as early as 5 to 12 years of age with the early signs of heart disease. You can actually find plaque in their arteries. You see very young children with type 2 diabetes. And we have adults who are younger and younger taking medications. We have people in their 30s now taking medication for high blood pressure or high cholesterol. For me, those are diseases or conditions that used to be like old people's conditions. And now we see 30-year-olds taking medication. And as people get older and they become 50 years of age, 60, 70 and older, we see people taking multiple medications per day. And the good news in all of that is that we can do something about it. We are empowered with the tools and the skills to make those changes. And that's really where I come in. I try to help people make sense of all the confusing and conflicting nutrition recommendations so that they can make wise choices for their families. Every day there's a different dietary recommendation. You can go to your local gym, talk to your neighbor, a family member, even turn on your television, and there is a dietary recommendation for losing belly fat, right? Improving your workout, almost anything that you can imagine. And if you're not a nutrition scientist, that can become very confusing, and the world of nutrition can become cloudy. So I really try to help people weed through all of that information and make sense of it. What I tell people who come to my regular classes is that I promise them that I will try my best to be a go-to place for sound nutrition information. And to do that, I explore the duality in nutritional science, because often what we hear are those headlines. One day the egg is good for you, the next day the egg is bad for you. One day red wine is heart protective, the next day alcohol can be cancer promoting. And so it can appear that nutritionists keep changing our minds. It's not really that, it's what gets in the headlines. So I like to go beyond those and really dig into it and give you the complete conversation so you can take the information back and make decisions for yourself and for your family. So that is kind of my approach. And I hope that if you have questions about any of those things, that you will drop them in the chat, and Nikki will help me to field some of those questions so I can answer them at the end. So how did we get here? How did we get to the place that chronic disease is running rampant through America? How did we come to a point that we can say we have a health crisis? It's really because our diet is based on processed food stuff. 62% of the diet comes from packaged, processed, refined food. These are foods that you see throughout our grocery aisles, but I will say when it comes to Whole Foods Market, we do a much better job than most. This is why I have been a committed Whole Foods Market shopper for years before I started working for the company, because our quality standards really elevates our products compared to conventional grocery stores. But if you go to a regular grocery store, you know that much of what you find in those grocery aisles is it's really made up of processed, refined, food-like stuff. And that really does make up 62% of the diet. 27% of the diet comes from animal products. Anything from pork, beef, chicken, seafood, to dairy, eggs, milk, cheese, ice cream, all of the animal products make up 27% of our diet. That leaves 11% that comes from fruits and vegetables. And when you look at that 11%, half of that really consists of potatoes, and most of the potatoes are either fried or stuffed with cheese, sour cream, butter, and all the stuff that people love. And so it is not surprising then that we are imbalanced, because our diets are not in balance. We should really think about elevating the fruits and vegetables, because we know that's where our cells can receive the micronutrients they need to be healthy. So again, think about those numbers. 62% coming from processed refined foods, 27% comes from animal products, and 11% comes from fruits and vegetables, and only half really comes from green and colorful vegetables and that whole variety of fruits, legumes, nuts, and seeds. right? Most of the produce we consume are potatoes. So when you think about that, that really becomes your first homework assignment. Really challenge yourself to consume more produce than ever before. See how high you can get that number. I would love for us to take those numbers and flip it and make most of our diets to be built around fruit and vegetables. The other homework assignment I would like to give here is thinking about the variety of fruits and vegetables that you consume. Do you know that the average American consumes the same 10 to 12 types of produce during his or her lifetime? So basically, I could blindfold you and send you into your favorite grocery store, and you would walk through the produce and grab the same orange, apple, bananas, lettuce, tomato, onions, the same thing over and over and over again. And we know we're finding antioxidants, especially new phytonutrients, and a wide variety of produce. So the more variety that you get into your diet, the more nutrients that your organs and cells can benefit from. So your second piece of homework is to get creative with the types of produce that you consume. Try something new that you've never had before, or go back and get some of those old school throwbacks like pigeon peas, rutabaga, beets, turnips, mustard greens. What about pigeon peas, red quinoa, oogly fruit, star fruit? With the internet, you can Google different options, how to select it, store it, and prepare it. So already you have two pieces of homework. One, to increase your produce consumption, and two, to get creative and try something that you've never had before or that you haven't had in a long time. That's something I have been doing because I grew up on a farm in East Texas. I grew up in Lovelady, Texas, raising beef cattle and lots of produce. And as a kid, a lot of those produce that we grew, I didn't like. I didn't like rutabaga. I didn't like turnips or beets. Now that I'm older, I love those foods. And so there may be some things that you tried years ago that you can reintroduce now and maybe find a new favorite. So I want to just leave that there for a minute and allow us to think about how crippling our diet is when we're not consuming real food, when the bulk of our diet is coming from processed foods. And that number becomes even more alarming when we include fast food. All of those fast food restaurants that become so convenient that we can just grab and go really are moving us away from health. And we want to think about the food choices we make because our lives really do depend on it. Now, I want to get into what we should be doing. So at Whole Foods Market years ago, we came up with the 4 pillars to healthy eating. And that is really something I still teach. It is my go-to or my touchstone. And I will share the 4 pillars with you, and maybe they can become your touchstone as well. Now, when I talk about these 4 pillars, I really emphasize that this is my starting place for any dietary path, no matter whether you're paleo or keto or anything in between or all around. And it's the starting place for any health condition. So no matter what dietary path you're following, no matter which health condition you want to address, whether it's losing weight, boosting your immune system, reversing cancer, controlling diabetes, or lowering your cholesterol, this is the starting place. Now, when I'm working with people one-on-one and I'm doing more nutrition consultations, I get more clinical. I can make it more individual for the person. But we all need to just think about building our diets around this foundation. So here you go. The first pillar is whole foods. It basically means that we're going to eat foods that are from the earth, real food made by nature, not by man. Another way I like to say that is we're getting the food manufacturing companies away from our dinner table. These are foods that your great-great-great-great-great-grandmother could find outdoor in her natural environment, swimming, walking, flying, or growing, and then bring into her kitchen and prepare meals from scratch. So anytime you're making a dietary choice, you're going out to lunch with your friends, you're taking a break at work, you're going to go buy groceries to prepare meals at home, you're going to ask yourself, is this food a real whole food? Could I find it in this format in nature? So some examples. Things we cannot find in nature might include Special K, Cheerios, Hot Pockets, Lean Cuisine, Kraft macaroni and cheese, instant potatoes, Snickers, Coca-Cola, hot Cheetos. None of these things will be found in nature. So think about that when you're making your dietary choices, and be aware of your surroundings when you go to the grocery store, and just be a little cautious when you see things that claim to be healthy on the label. Healthy, heart healthy, lowers cholesterol. All of those claims are just things to pull you in. You need to be your own food detective and look at the food with a critical eye and really ask yourself, is this something my great-great-grandmother would recognize? Just because the food manufacturing companies have made it and can present it to us, and we see it on every aisle and every grocery store, doesn't mean it's the healthiest choice. So I hope that really makes sense, because I think sometimes when I'm out in the community, I'm talking to people, that trips them up a bit. It seems kind of intuitive on one hand, but in another, there are so many things that we're just used to eating, like Cheerios, that we don't really think about what would be a healthier choice. The real oat, the actual oat that you would put on the stove, and not the instant kind, the long cooking oatmeal. The same thing with the rice, the long cooking brown rice, foods that come in their natural state. So the first pillar is whole foods. The second pillar is plant strong or plant-based. I don't mean that you have to be vegan or vegetarian. You know, that's not what I'm saying. I want to go back to the comment I made earlier when I said I grew up on a farm. I did, and we did raise beef cattle. But we didn't eat meat every day, all day. If you grew up on a farm, you know what it takes to catch a chicken. Our chickens roam free. So when grandma said she wanted the red speckled hen, it was my cousins and me running all day until we got that chicken. We made a game out of it, but we would finally get the chicken, and then grandma would bring it into the house. She would boil the water, dip the chicken in the water, pluck the fat. It was a process. Got to cut the chicken, then cut it into parts and clean it and all this stuff just to get chicken on the table. And we killed a cow once a year. And we would butcher that cow, and it would last the entire 365 days. And we would share that meat between our household and my great-grandmother's household that lived next door. And so we didn't eat a whole steak, a triple-decker burger ourselves. Grandma had to be very savvy, and she stretched that meat. So she made beef chili, beef stew, chicken and dumplings. Sometimes we just had pinto beans and cornbread, and that was the meal. So I'm not saying plant-based means vegan. People who are vegan are often vegans for the animals or other reasons. Plant-based just really means centering your diet around a large amount of plant foods, such as green and colorful vegetables, a wide variety of colorful fruit, whole grains, and not just whole wheat, legumes, and just a few nuts and seeds, just half your handful, unroasted and unsalted. I want to stay there for a minute while you think about eating more plants and really building your diet around plants. I want to talk about the nuts and seeds for a minute. So why do I say just half your handful? Because even though nuts and seeds are healthy fats, they're very high in calories, right? So just half your handful would be almost 200 calories. So 8 walnuts, approximately 180, 190 calories. 15, 18 almonds, about the same. So even though these are healthy fats, they're still high in calories that would add weight to our hips. And I've noticed that as I've gotten older, I just can't eat a lot of nuts, seeds, avocados, those fatty foods. I get enough in for my heart health and my brain and central nervous system health, but then I pull back. And the reason we say unroasted and unroasted is because when you take fat and you take it to a very high temperature, it can create free radicals. And free radicals are those rogue cells that in the body can become carcinogenic. We take antioxidants to reverse oxidation, anti-oxidation. And so when you're heating oil in your skillet and it's smoking and burning, please pour that out. Do not consume anything cooked in oil that has started to smoke. And this is why it's important to have oils that are right for high temperatures. And you can Google that and check that. But the same thing with nuts and seeds. When they're roasted, it can become carcinogenic over time. So your first two pillars really can become your mantra. We could really stop there with just whole foods, plant-based, whole foods, plant-based, whole foods, plant-based, whole foods, plant-based as your daily mantra. This is how you start to make decisions about what to bring onto your dinner table. And remember earlier when I said there's so much confusion and conflicting nutrition information out there? To cut through that confusion, you can just ask yourself, well, is it a whole food? Is it plant-based? Okay, let's go from there. Because there's going to be all kinds of promises, all kinds of foods that are special elixirs and potions and just magic in a bottle or magic on your plate. And you can just answer those questions for yourself by using this simple touchstone: whole foods, plant-based. Now, to go a little bit further, we can introduce the third pillar, and that is healthy fats. We need fat for, again, heart health and a healthy central nervous system, but you want to make sure you're getting your fats from those first two pillars, because remember, those pillars are our touchstone. So even when I'm looking at fat, I'm asking myself, is this a whole food? Is it plant-based? So that means I'm getting my fat from nuts, seeds, avocado, not olive oil, not coconut oil. Now, I want to say a little bit about that. Why is that the case? First, I do consume some oil. I'm not saying I'm 100% oil-free, but I'm not pouring it on my salad, and I'm not pouring it in my skillet. Maybe I'm putting some on a paper towel, and I'm greasing my skillet so it doesn't stick. And I'm mindful about oil because, again, it's not a whole plant food. The whole food would be the olive or the coconut or the avocado. And when we eat the food in its whole packaging, we're also getting the fiber and all of the other macronutrients that would come with that food, not just the isolated or processed fat. The other reason it's important to watch your oil consumption is because even though it's a healthy fat, it is still, again, very high in calories. And because you've taken the oil out of the natural plant food, it's even more concentrated in calories. So any plant-based oil is 120 calories per tablespoon. 120 calories per tablespoon. So if you're making a salad and then topping it with an oil-based dressing, you could have just added hundreds of calories to your salad. When I was working for the USDA in Washington, D.C., we actually did a study of salads, and we found some salads had up to 1,200 calories. Because think about it, people are taking all that green and colorful produce, then they're topping it with eggs, ham, or tuna, maybe turkey, and then all of that cheese, and then white salad dressing all over the top, and then croutons. And I often joke, at that point, you've made yourself a casserole. Just put it in the oven and bake it. That's not a salad anymore. We need to remember the taste of just pure produce. I remember being on the farm, just taking a tomato off the vine, wiping it on my pants and just eating it. I love the taste of produce. And so when you think about a salad, make sure that you make one that's oil-free. We sell some great oil-free dressings in our produce department and the refrigerated section. So try some of those, or just experiment with making your own. The other thing you want to be mindful of is pouring oil into your skillet. If you're frying with oil, you could be adding so many hundreds of calories to your chicken or to your fish. One day, I was teaching a class here in Detroit, and a lady just kept insisting that I tell her which oil was the healthiest oil for her to fry in. And finally, I just said, none of them. Don't fry your food. And she was just really having a hard time with that. But what about coconut oil? What about olive oil? It must be healthier, right? We hear these messages out in the media and we confuse them because we think that that's our get out of jail free card. Oh, well, I'll just fry with coconut oil. Oh, I'll just fry with olive oil. And what I like to tell people is there's no quick fixes. You have to do the work to really get the food right. You really have to make those deep changes if we're going to turn the tide of chronic disease. If you're on medications and want to get off of them, if you want to reverse disease, if you want to lose weight and keep it off, if you're a woman, we know that keeping weight off becomes harder as we age. I know for me, it was for a long time, and I finally got it under control by being even more strict with my diet. Even though I already lived this lifestyle, I had to make some additional tweaks. If you really want those lasting changes, we have to make some bold changes. And so the healthy fats pillar is one of those areas that causes people a little bit of confusion. So I wanted to make sure that I introduced it and that I gave you some more conversation around it. So those then become our first three pillars: whole foods, plant-based. That's the question you're going to ask every time you get ready to take a bite. And then you can introduce the third pillar of healthy fats, making sure you're getting those from whole plant foods. If you do that consistently, whole foods, plant-based, whole foods, plant-based, whole foods, plant-based, the fourth pillar happens naturally. Your food becomes micronutrient dense. This simply means that your food is going to be high in the things you need, like vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and phytonutrients, and naturally low in things like saturated fat, cholesterol, and excess calories. When you think about micronutrient density, you're getting more nutrients than you are calories and fat. This is where your food becomes medicine. This is when your food is able to really penetrate your systems, organs, cells, and DNA and restore you to optimal health. So anytime I'm working with someone, again, whether they're trying to work against cancer, lower their blood pressure, or their cholesterol, my starting place is always whole foods, plant-based, for that micronutrient density. Now, so those are your four pillars. And so just kind of record them somewhere and use that as your touchstone as you start to make healthier choices. To go a little bit deeper from that, I also introduced the concept of lots of color. So sometimes the way I say my mantra is whole foods, plant-based, whole foods, plant-based, with lots of color. Because we know eating the rainbow is an important part of any healthy dietary plan. Why is that the case? Because each color in the produce kingdom corresponds to a different set of nutrients. You don't have to become a nutritionist or a dietitian and memorize which color does which function in the body. But by eating a wide variety of color every day and throughout the day, you're feeding your body head to toe. So I often ask people to think about whether they have fed their central nervous system. So think about it for yourself. Did you feed your brain today? What have you eaten for your prostate if you're a man? If you're a woman, did you feed your ovaries today? What about your kidneys, your lungs, your digestive system? Did you clean your colon today? Did you support your heart today? So when I think about food in that way, it makes me more excited about eating the colors and eating whole plant foods, because I know I'm nourishing myself head to toe, front to back, through and through, right? And so just start thinking about ways that you can use the color as maybe a game or a challenge that you do with yourself and with your family. So think about creative ways you can get a lot of color into breakfast. Maybe you make a smoothie and you put in blueberries and strawberries, maybe mango. Maybe for your brown, you put in some chia seed or flaxseed. Maybe for your green, you do your hemp hearts or just dark green leafy vegetables. Think about how many colors you can get into your smoothie. What if you're doing still cut oatmeal, the long cooking kind? Maybe you put in lots of berries. Maybe you add again the flaxseed, the chia seed to your still cut oatmeal. And for lunch, it gets easier. You can make a jumbo salad for lunch with lots of color in your salad. You can make a chili, you can make a soup, you can make a stew. You can get so creative in how to bring that color in to each meal. And sometimes I recommend having a colorful salad for breakfast. Yes, a salad for breakfast, because it's a great way to break your fast and to complete the overnight detoxing by getting water and all of that fiber and color into your body first thing in the morning. When you do things like eating salad for breakfast or doing a green smoothie for breakfast, you'll see that you will have an early morning bowel elimination, and you can even start feeling more energetic throughout the day, and maybe even controlling your appetite, which can help with cravings and eventual weight loss. Also, sometimes I recommend people to eat red kidney beans or black beans for breakfast, maybe topped with a little bit of avocado for that fat, because we know fat in the morning is a great way to perk up the brain. And by getting beans in for breakfast, you're better able to regulate your blood sugar for the entire day. So it's a great tip for diabetics, but also people who are looking for a little bit more energy and stability throughout the day. So think about ways to increase the color all day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and for your snacks and your healthy beverages. So here are some examples of the colors and how they work in the body. So I would love you to start thinking about your favorite red, orange, and yellow foods. Do you love strawberries and watermelon? What about something different like red rice or red quinoa or red kidney beans, beets? What about orange and yellow peppers, mango, cantaloupe, squashes? You know, think about all of those, yellow pears and yellow apples. Just get creative about all the red, orange, and yellow foods you can consume. And remember, your homework assignment is to increase your consumption and your variety. So try to find something unique and different in the orange, red, and yellow family. Why are those foods important? Well, that spectrum of the rainbow helps with joint health. We know we hear a lot about carrots for our eyes. That's the beta carotene. So those orange foods are going to be great for your eye and your skin health. So you want a nice glow and nice eyesight. Those foods are important for immunity, so they can help ward off cancer. They will help to protect those chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and even prevent stroke. So organizations like the American Heart Association, those national academies really focus a lot on the red, orange, and yellow foods because they're so important in the fight against chronic disease. They are really great for healing the systems like our cardiovascular system, our endocrine system, those systems connected to heart disease, diabetes, and stroke. So again, think about those orange, yellow, and red foods for stroke protection, heart health, diabetes prevention, increased immunity, which can then lower our risk for cancer, for skin and eye health, and for joint health and stability. The next spectrum I would like to discuss with you are those green foods. And there's just so many. We have broccoli, all those dark green leafy vegetables, green apples. We can go on with all of the bounty of green foods. These foods are important because they're alkalizing, detoxifying, and energizing. These are the foods you would eat if you really want to clean your system. If maybe you've been binge eating on some junk foods, maybe you've had a lot of alcohol, maybe you've been taking medication, you want to try to cleanse and detoxify your body. These foods are so alkalizing, so detoxifying, and you want that burst of energy, they're very energizing. They actually give you more vitality. So I love starting my day out with a green smoothie or a green salad, because I feel like I can just run a marathon, like I can do anything that day. It gives me that boost in energy. So think about the green foods for those reasons, but also, again, they're going to help to really boost the immune system. They can give you cancer protection, and they help to repair our tissues. So if there's any type of tissue damage, even just from a strenuous workout or for something more traumatic, these green foods can actually repair our tissues. Next, I want to move on to, I think, my favorite. In some ways, because I'm a woman, so I'll tell you why in a minute, but those brown, white, and tan foods. We often overlook those foods because when we think about eating the rainbow, we're thinking more about eating those bright colors, but those brown, tan, and white foods are so important as well. Here's what they do in the body. They help to protect our heart. They help to lower cholesterol. They help to strengthen our bones. They actually help to make our bones more stable and stronger. So especially for women, as we get older and we're worried about osteoporosis, and we want to make sure that we can prevent, damage to our knees, our hips, those brown, tan, and white foods are so important for that. These foods help to lower inflammation, and they help to balance hormones. And this is why I like them for women. Because they help to balance hormones, they can prevent our risk for certain cancers. They also protect the female reproductive system, which again can reduce our risk for certain cancers, namely cervical and breast cancer. So again, these brown, tan, and white foods help to balance the female hormones. They help to protect and nourish the female reproductive system. And as a result, they can lower our risk for cervical and breast cancer. And research has shown if a woman is diagnosed with cervical or breast cancer, these brown, tan, and white foods can help increase her chances for recovery. I mentioned that they're good for hormones. They also help to support the male hormones as well. So which foods are we talking about? Cauliflower, parsnips, mushrooms, onions, and garlic. And these are foods we often overlook. So think about how you can get parsnips into your diet. How about the cauliflower? Maybe you get some turnips or some rutabaga into your diet. But especially women, please consume more mushrooms, raw and cooked, onions, and garlic for reproductive health. The final spectrum we're going to discuss are the purple, blue, and black foods. These foods do so much in the body, and yet they're the least consumed. We don't eat nearly enough of these foods. So think about some of your favorite purple, black, and blue foods. Maybe purple cabbage, grapes, plums, blackberries, blueberries, black rice, black beans, and be more mindful about pulling these foods into your diet every day if possible. I eat blueberries every single day. A nice little bowl of blueberries, pomegranate seeds, just a few walnuts with my green tea, perfect snack for me, right? So think about how to get more of these foods into your diet. Why? Because They support longevity, just longer life. How do they do that? Because they really provide support across different systems of the body, and they help to prevent cell death and cell degeneration. They keep our cells alive. Oh my goodness, something as simple as eating blackberries and blueberries can keep my cells alive. Like, to me, I don't know about you, but it's exciting to me. And it makes me feel more inspired to bring these foods into my diet. They also help to reduce inflammation. So if someone's having joint pain or swelling or bloating, they can pull inflammation out of the diet. We saw other colors did that as well. They help to prevent cancer risk and progression. These foods actually slow down the progression of cancer in the body. So if someone has received a diagnosis, I'm not saying these foods are a cure-all, but I would certainly want to include them as part of a health protocol. And they're great for the central nervous system and the brain. They help to boost memory and to slow down dementia and Alzheimer's. There's a doctor named Dr. Dave Bredesen. Dr. Bredesen has the Bredesen protocol, and it's made for people with Alzheimer's. He's had great success, not in curing Alzheimer's, but in slowing down its progression and giving people a longer quality of life, a better quality of life for a longer period of time. And these purple, blue, and black foods are part of that protocol. And so I hope this discussion about the 4 pillars with our mantra, whole foods, plant-based, and these rainbow foods have given you a starting place, something that you can go try right now today. It's not complicated. I wanted to give you things that you can experience right now. You can walk into our produce department and find all of these colors. You can go into our whole body department and find the goji berries and the flaxseed and the chia seed, all kinds of things throughout our store that can support health and longevity. We can go to our grocery department and we can pull a can of black beans, no BPA in the lining, no salt added, or we can buy some dry beans and cook them from scratch. Our store supports health throughout all of our departments. We can find something that would fit the criteria of whole plant foods with lots of color. And one thing that I noticed when I talk about all of these colors, the red, orange, and yellow, the green, the brown, white, and tan, the purple, blue, and black, that they all support very similar things. There's some commonality with some of the ways they support the body. So it really just shows that the message, again, is really just whole plant foods. That's really the foundation. And by getting that variety, you're doing even more to support your health. I'm going to end there so I have time for questions and answers. I hope that you got something of benefit from this discussion today. It's an introduction to the work that I do. And I hope that you will ask your questions in the chat, or you can always email me at Akua, A-K-U-A, .Woolbright, wool like the cloth, bright light, at wholefoods.com. Akua.Woolbright at Whole Foods. Thank you, guys.
As always, thank you so much, Akua. This is always, I've helped moderate a few of these and I'm constantly learning from each and every one. I went ahead and put your email in the chat for anyone who would like to reach out. And we have a few questions coming in. We have some coming in throughout your talk. So one question was, what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting and combining fasting with a healthy diet?
Oh, I love it. Yes, I think it's a great way to, for me, I'm gonna give you 2 answers. For me personally, it's a great way just to let the body rest. Let the body just work through all the foods we've already eaten the day before, so those metabolites can continue to break down. And this is why I think it's important not just to fast maybe longer, by not eating breakfast at 7 a.m., but waiting until 11 or whatever time you're choosing, whatever length of time you're choosing for your fast, but also to break the fast very smartly. I've heard people do things like, well, I eat burgers and fries for lunch because I fasted, all morning. They're using intermittent fasting as a way to then eat their junk food. No, if you use intermittent fasting, like you said, with a healthy diet, this is when we see intermittent fasting helping to lower blood pressure, lower blood sugar, and lower cholesterol. The research is very clear. Intermittent fasting can really help us improve our biometrics if combined with healthy diet and lifestyle choices. So yes, good option to try.
Great. Just wanted to mention to folks as well, we've had a few questions about the colors of foods you were mentioning, so maybe we can compile a list and I can email it out to everybody after with just a few of the descriptions that you gave. So we'll send that out to folks. Next question we got, are fat burners an effective way to jumpstart a weight loss journey?
You know, I don't really like the tricks and the gimmicks, because I think that when I see people using any of them, whether it's fat burners, also people who use fast, any type of fast or detox as a way to jumpstart the lifestyle change. Sometimes I see what happens is that people then have that yo-yo. It can give you some limited or some temporary benefit, but I really want us to do the brain work, like really wrap our brain around what a healthy lifestyle is, what it looks like. Because I think when we do that, the roots we have go deeper, and we're able to then withstand the temptations more. Because even when we do those ways, those fat burners, other ways we have to jumpstart it, we're still going to have pizza parties at work, especially work other places. You're going to have still drive by all the fast food restaurants. You're still going to have family gatherings where people are going to be barbecuing. All that's really still around you. So I think a better way is to really do the work to change the mindset and then the lifestyle. Now, that being said, some people have used fat burners. Some people have used HCG, which is a hormone protocol, or the keto diet, just to kind of jumpstart the weight loss, because that works, I think, for people who are feeling discouraged. They need a little bit of hope, and they need to see those first 10 pounds go. If you're using it for that reason, just to get over that hump, but then you have the longer lifestyle plan tightly in place, psychologically, it may be helpful for you. So I hope that answered the question. I kind of answered like what I would prefer that we do, but then I also said, if it gives you some hope because it got you over the hump and now you're smooth sailing with your lifestyle plan in place, then perhaps it could work for you. I hope that answered the question.
I think that covered it. That's great. What are your thoughts, or do you recommend meal prepping? This team member says that they often find it's easier to eat quick foods that are whole foods due to the length of time it takes to prepare a fresh meal. So do you have any tips on meal prepping?
Yeah, so, old school way, we used to hear about batch cooking. This is where you would pick a day that you would do your shopping and you're cooking all in the same day. That's one way. I don't really like that because I don't want to be in the kitchen for hours at a time. So what I talk a lot about is rotational cooking. So what I mean by that is I always kind of have something going. If I have sweet potatoes, collard greens, black-eyed peas, cornbread, one day, maybe I'm eating on that. And then the next day, all I have to do is boil some whole corn. Now, some of the stuff I had the first day is going to be kind of going away, but now I have the corn. Then maybe the third day I added chili. Then maybe the fourth day. So I'm always kind of cooking, over layering the things I have in my kitchen. So I don't ever like walking in my kitchen from scratch, from zero. I like to be able to look at my refrigerator and see something already done. If it's just baked sweet potatoes. And I would actually do that. Things that don't require me to be in the kitchen, like I can bake sweet potatoes. The other day, I baked a bunch of white potatoes. And my son then can take those, he likes to drizzle olive oil on top of the potato, and he mashes it all up inside the skin. Then he puts in beans, steamed kale, avocado, and salsa, all in his potato. And I make sure the skin is really scrubbed and clean. He eats the whole thing. And then the next day, he may do something different with the potato. So that's my way of doing it. I kind of always have something in my refrigerator that's working. a bowl of rice, something that gives me a start to a meal. And the other thing I do, I eat very simply. Like I can just be happy with a large salad. I can be happy with, like I said, my bowl of blackberries, blueberries, pomegranates, and walnuts. I can be very happy with my green smoothie. You know, I eat very simply now. I can just cook canned pinto beans. That's my McDonald's. My canned pinto beans, no BPA in the lining, no salt added. I can season those up really good with smoked paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, and I can put avocado on top. I can put salsa on top. I can put it on top of rice. I can do so many things. I can make it, put it in a wrap. I can do so many things just with a can of beans. So just maybe think about meals more simply. Hopefully that will help.
I think that's a great suggestion. One question about, so are you able to get enough protein on a plant-based whole foods diet? And is it okay to consume protein powders? And then a follow-up from another team member, do you have any plant-based protein that you prefer?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Despite what other plant-based enthusiasts will tell you, I do find that it's hard to get all the protein I need just from eating produce. I can't eat that much. Maybe if I'm a guy and I'm like Rip Esselstyn, who used to work for us, and he's an athlete, I can't consume enough produce because I want us to get at the minimum 10 to 20 grams of protein at every meal. That's if you're not an athlete. If you're an athlete, you're going to need more, but at least 10 to 20 grams of protein every meal, 3 times a day. So that's a cup of lentils, that's a cup of beans, that's a cup of chopped tofu. So you can do that 3 times a day. That's going to be 2 eggs if you still eat eggs. But for me, this is a lot, you know, so I do a protein powder, and I like, here's some brands. We used to sell Jarrow. I'm not sure if we still do. It's Jarrow. It's a brown rice protein powder, really smooth flavor. We also sell in some of our stores Sun Warrior, like a warrior fight. And those are really great because those are hemp-based, and it has like 4 ingredients, like hemp, coconut, goji berries. It's real simple, very clean, very mild. Sometimes I will use Vega as a meal replacer, and of course our Garden of Life. Now, I like the Garden of Life meal replacer and shake, but I will say it's heavy in the body. It has a lot of stuff in it. It's really heavy. So I have to drink a lot of water when I do that one. And sometimes I will use less protein powder until I can get used to it, because it can be bloating, it can cause you to bloat. But those are some of my favorite brands, the Jarrow, Sun Warrior, Vega, Garden of Life, because they're just clean and just real whole food ingredient. If you're gonna get a protein powder, I would say go for the plant-based protein, green pea, hemp seed, or brown rice, instead of the whey and the casein. I want to get into that as a whole lecture I do on why I don't like whey and casein in my protein powder. But remember, our mantra is whole foods, plant-based. Okay, next question.
Great. So is it good to focus on healthy fats, or should you also be looking at low fat from healthy sources?
Both, right? So I don't want us to go low fat, because I emphasize micronutrients a lot. That's why I really love the colors, because I'm trying to get my vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and phytonutrients. But the macronutrients, the protein, the fat, and the carbohydrate are still important, and their proper composition, their proper proportion. So I still want to get enough fat because my central nervous system requires that. It's great in the morning to perk your brain up and to just moisturize and lubricate your brain and get you going. So I want to get my healthy fat from my plant sources: walnut, chia seed, flaxseed, pumpkin seeds, avocado. If you are having joint pain or inflammation and you feel like you need more fat, you can't eat fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, or you can take a fish oil. You can do that. right? We sell some great fish oil tablets in the whole body department, and we have wonderful fish selections in the meat and seafood department. So it's important to get the fat in your diet, but we don't want to overconsume fat. Just because it's a healthy fat and we need it, doesn't mean that we need to overconsume it, because that's when we can gain weight. If I'm talking to someone, they're having some stubborn weight, and I do a diary record on them, a lot of times I find they're eating too much like shrimp, lobster, tuna salad. Sometimes that can be problematic. So it's the right balance. Okay, next question.
Awesome. And so what is that recommended composition? Is it a certain percentage for fat that you should consume?
I don't really have a right composition at this moment. It's a whole class I'll do on how to really construct that. I would just say, like I was mentioning before, 8 walnuts is all you would need. 8 walnuts, you're done for the day. 15 almonds, you're done for the entire day. A couple of tablespoons of flaxseed or chia seed, that's all the healthy fat you need for the day. So a way I would say that is, when I think about fat, this may answer a little bit better. I don't think about fat as part of my meal or as even my snack. It becomes more my supplement. So I'm going to be eating just a very small piece of salmon, maybe the size of my cell phone, maybe even a deck of cards. And the rest is going to be green and colorful vegetables, right? And there's a whole lecture I go into about protein from fat, and maybe we can do that another time, but hopefully that'll give you a start. I think about fat more as your condiment. Like when I talk about my bowl of berries, I'm adding the walnuts on top. I'm doing the smoothie or the oatmeal, I'm adding my flaxseed to it. So the fat becomes something that I'm adding to the rest of my meal. It doesn't become the meal or the snack. Next question.
Great. What are good ways to cook vegetables with less oil?
Okay, so I talked about putting the oil on the paper towel, greasing your skillet, right, so it doesn't stick. You also can saute with vegetable stock, low sodium. You can saute with citrus juice, wine. I sometimes saute with coconut water, not the milk, coconut water. So you can salt or just plain water, because all you really need is a conduit. You need a way for the seasoning to get into the food. So we use oil because it gives food a nice mouthfeel and flavor, but you can saute with just water. I do that a lot. Or if I'm opening up a pack of beans, I may saute with the juices in the beans. If I'm using pasta sauce or crushed tomatoes, I may saute with just the sauce from the tomatoes or the pasta sauce. So just think about what you're cooking and what already has water in it, or what could go with it, like a stock or a coconut water. Like I love sauteing my collard greens in coconut water. It gives it a nice sweet flavor. So just think about other liquids you can use instead of oil.
Great. And what are your thoughts on caffeine? Is there a certain time of day that you should consume that, or not at all limit?
Yeah, so caffeine has now has gotten a bad rap, but we're really seeing now that it's not as problematic as we thought. So I would say no more than 2 cups per day is fine. And I don't mean soda. I mean green tea or like organic coffee. And it's important that the coffee is organic, because coffee that's not organic can have other chemicals and things in it that are detrimental to one's health. So organic green tea, organic coffee. No more than 2 cups a day.
Awesome. And we have a question about, should everything be in moderation? How do you approach that? And can that be harmful or helpful?
Yeah, I don't teach moderation and I don't teach portion control, because you're going to do it anyway. People are going to make those choices anyway. So it's almost like, although I'm not really churchy, I'll give you a church example. When a pastor is talking, he's going to talk about the 10 commandments. This is what it is. This is what it is. He's not going to say, well, if you kind of fornicate a little bit, or if you kind of, kill every now and then, it's okay. He's going to give you the plan as he sees it. And so that's kind of what I do in nutritional science. I want us to eat whole foods, plant-based, That's it. That's how we heal our systems, organ cells, and DNA. Hot Cheetos won't do it. Mac and cheese is not going to do it. A plate of ribs won't do it. Coca-Cola, Snickers won't heal our body. So I asked us to ask ourselves, will a food have more chance to heal or harm? So would you rather have strawberries or hot Cheetos, water or Southern sweet tea? Which choices are more likely to heal or harm? Now, that being said, we know we're going to do what we do. We're going to go have the chip sauce guacamole margaritas. We're going to go to the cookout. We're going to make those choices. So I don't teach that because I'm trying to pull people onto a healthy dietary plan and be really clear in the messaging. And then I like to meet people where they are with their own choices, and then we can move from there.
Excellent. And we're right at noon. So if you have some extra time, we have a couple more questions.
I have plenty of time.
To be here all day. Great.
I can be here all day. I live for this.
Love it. And there are some questions that have come in the chat that I think we could just follow up via email. So I'll work with you on that to get back to some of these more specific questions. But we do have a question about Whole Foods prep foods on the recipes that Whole Foods is making in the pre-packed salads. Is there anything to kind of keep an eye out when it comes to kind of getting a already made salad?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's the same, it's kind of the same messaging. You know, for me, it depends on your dietary path, right? It depends on what you're choosing. I love our grab and go salads, but I'm gonna of course choose the ones that have a little bit more color in them, right? And that don't have any meat added. So I think it depends on your dietary preferences. I may stay away from the Caesar salad, and I may choose one that has more, just lots of greens, colorful produce, maybe some fruit, and maybe some nuts. So it just kind of depends on your preferences. Just remember that you want lots of color. Just remember that you're watching your oil intake. So you're going to look at what salad dressing you're using. Maybe you switch out and you pick a different salad dressing that's in ours. Just make those choices based on whole foods, plant-based, whole foods, plant-based. I give that mantra because then you can use it for all your choices. You can then look at the salad bar and decide. You can look at our prepared foods and decide. You can look at our chilies and soups and decide. You can go to any restaurant, you're asking yourself, is this a whole food? Is it plant-based? Do I see lots of color? How much fat and oil does it have in here, right? And then make those choices.
That's great. Yeah, I love having a mantra that you can just say to yourself to make it more simple, like you say.
And the reason it gets complicated is there's things we just see so often, but I always see ranch dressing. I always see the Italian dressing. We see it so much that it makes us question the mantra. And I'm saying hold tight to the mantra and then really let that guide you. Even though, especially in Texas, and different parts of the country, it may be hard, but just follow the mantra and I try to just challenge a restaurant to give me what I want. Can you ask the chef to tweak this? I'm going to look at a salad, maybe having our grab and go, and maybe I'm going to deconstruct. I'm going to take the dressing out, and I'm going to put my dressing in, but I'm bringing my mantra to every choice that I make.
That's great. A couple more. What are your thoughts on the Amazing Grass superfood protein?
Oh, I love it. Love it. Yeah. Love it.
Two thumbs up.
I love all the add-ins, whole body is I love whole body. So I love our entire company and all the departments. I eat across all of our departments. But I love whole body. I love the Amazing Grass. Any of those fun things, superfoods and powders you can add to your smoothie. Sometimes just add things to water and just do it as a shot. Yeah, so I love that.
Great. Do you have anything you would change based on this chat or advice or guidelines for athletes, especially those that are working out 6 to 7 days a week, for example, training for a marathon?
Oh, yeah. So athletes can have more fun. Y'all can eat more food. So athletes can do more fat. I said half your handful unroasted, unsalted. I will still make it unroasted, unsalted. And maybe you can go up to a whole handful of nuts, even a handful and a half. If you're really working out that much, you can really fuel yourself off of some of those healthy fats. And so, yes, athletes can definitely get away with much more fat. My recommendation for protein would increase. It depends on how much someone's working out, so I don't know the individual. But yeah, so an athlete can definitely eat just more volumes of everything that I'm saying. But the reason I don't really teach that when I do these talks is I don't want someone who walks once a week to think they're an athlete. and to use that as a reason to overconsume walnuts, avocado, because we will see weight on the body if we do that. But no, athletes can get away with more fat. It can actually fuel them, help them with recovery. There's things that we can eat, like more coconut to help with recovery time, the amazing grass, all of those green foods and those green powders are great for athletes to repair tissues and rebuild after a really strenuous workout. Yes, they can just have fun eating more of these foods for healthy recovery and repair. Next question.
Fantastic. Okay. Somebody was asking what the name of the doctor is that has the protocol for people with dementia. Could you repeat that?
His name is spelled Bredesen, Bredesen. It's kind of a tough protocol. It's strict. And so I've had a lot of clients contact me and they pay me to actually walk their family members through the protocol. It's a tough protocol to follow, but I think there's some takeaways for any of us to even start to strengthen our brain health. Like the purple, blue, and black foods, like some of the mental exercises we can do, playing games, crossword puzzles, Sudoku, those kinds of things.
That's great. Okay, one final question. You were talking about oils earlier. Any thoughts about avocado oil?
It's all the same. So, so when I give these recommendations, this is what I'm saying. So we'll start trying to struggle with it a little bit. Not saying the person who asked the question is doing that, but it really comes down to whole foods, plant-based. That's the mantra no matter what. Healthy fats coming from the whole plant foods no matter what. So you see what I was saying earlier. These are really simple recommendations, but because the world looks so different, it causes us to like, wait, what does that include? Does that still mean? Well, she said Special K, but what about Cheerios, right? So all oil is 120 calories per tablespoon. All oil, any of it, any name, coconut, olive, avocado, 120 calories per tablespoon. So if you put it on your salad, you're frying with it, you're adding hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calories to your meal, to your food. Now, is it a healthy fat? Yeah, you can get some healthy fat from avocado oil, coconut oil, and olive oil. Good choices for the healthier fat, but they're still high in calories. I would still prefer you get your fat from the whole avocado because you would then get the fiber, the protein, and the other micronutrients that the avocado has. So I would much prefer you eat the avocado for your fat because then you get everything the avocado brings, and the fiber helps to slow down the oil as it goes to the bloodstream. The same reason I want you to eat your fruit and not drink it, because when you eat the whole orange, it's the fiber from the orange slows down the sugar from entering the bloodstream, whereas the orange juice will cause your sugar to spike. So it's the whole food is really my preference. Now, when you look at oil, yes, the avocado oil is gonna be better than lard, for sure. But there are some studies that show that even when you eat avocado oil, olive oil, coconut oil, it still can leave some grease or some oil residue on our arteries. So it's not as harmful as butter, cheese, lard, but it's still sticky. This is why we don't pour oil down our kitchen sink, right? Why wouldn't you fry a turkey or a chicken and pour the grease down your kitchen sink? Because it will clog your drain, right? It will clog your plumbing. So the same thing with the body. So I'm not saying don't eat any oil. I have oil in my kitchen right now, but I'm eating all of it very minimally. On my paper towel, I'm greasing my skillet. So that's true for any oil someone can ask me about. It's gonna be the same exact answer. Proceed with caution. Remember how many calories it is. It's still sticky in the system. And I would rather you eat whole foods, plant-based, even for our healthy fats. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, we had one more come in. What about rotisserie chicken? Is that considered a natural form?
I mean, it's not really about the rotisserie chicken. It's So because remember I said the whole foods is walking, swimming, flying, growing. So if you're gonna eat chicken, lamb, goat, cow, you have to cook it some kind of way. So I guess I would rather you do it that way than frying it. That's definitely better. So yeah, I mean, rotisserie chicken would fit under the whole food part of our mantra. So sure, and remember I said, I don't want us to necessarily be vegan or vegetarian. We can still enjoy things from the meat and seafood department. We can still enjoy things that we see over in prepared foods like the rotisserie chickens. But I want you to eat those more minimally because I want to change the composition of the plate. For so long, our meals have been built on animal products and then those processed products. Now I want us to move the animal products back a bit. So the 11% of the diet, really the 5.5% of the diet that was coming from green and colorful produce can be the main portion of the plate. I want the plate to be full of color, full of produce. And then the rotisserie chicken goes on top of your salad. It becomes the small piece the size of your cell phone or maybe a deck of cards. And the rest of the plate would be your green and colorful vegetables. So yes, you can eat that, but just put it within the whole system that we've laid out. Hopefully that answers the question.
I think that was great. I think we have gotten to everything. Once again, Dr. Akua, thank you so much for your time and your wealth of knowledge and information and making it so simple for everyone to be able to follow and make those small steps. And we want to wish. Go ahead.
Nikki, I want to mention one thing. So people had asked earlier about the rainbow diet. I would say I can definitely send you guys information. Nikki and I will talk about that and some other questions that came in. But you can also Google rainbow foods or health benefits of different colors and just have fun. I want you guys to bring yourself to the process and just have fun exploring, doing research for your own self. I want people to kind of challenge me because I want you to know that I'm giving you the best information I can. I'm not just making it up. So go look for yourself and then try to experiment with, getting more colors into your diet. I'm always here if you need me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dr. Akua, and wishing everyone a very, very happy Team Member Appreciation Week. And we'll follow up with everyone by the end of the week with more info, and hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day.